So for this week's video, we had to do an experiment on the rock cycle, and this I decided to do the one with Starburst. So, and on my experiment, this picture right here is the setup I had. I have my 4 Starbursts, my scissors, my pan, tinfoil, tongs, and paper plates and books, and a plastic bag. So in the experiment, I used Starburst to show how the rock cycle works. We first started the experiment off with igneous rock, which the Starburst signifies the rock, and it's the whole Starburst is the igneous rock. So in the first step, I started off by cutting the candy into strips, and this acted as weathering and erosion to the igneous rock. So once I cut all the Starburst into strips and into pieces, it looked like that. So after all the erosion and weathering, all the rock was put together into sediments, and all these pieces are sediments. So in step 2, I then by compaction and cementation of the sediments, we then get sedimentary rock. So I took all those little pieces of sediments and then compacted them together and into the sedimentary rock. As you can see, you can still kind of see all the individual sediments, but they're just compacted together. So in step 3, I took that sedimentary rock and then I applied pressure and heat by putting it in this bag and rubbing it together, making it more pliable and squishing it together so that those little pieces of sediments are less visible now. It's kind of more of a one piece and not clumpy anymore. And then after I then took it out of that bag, and then I left it in the bag, and I put the bag in between 2 books and squished it together, and that applied the pressure, making it flat, one flat rock. So in the 4th step, I took that metamorphic rock. So once I squished together and applied heat and pressure, I took the sedimentary rock and made it a metamorphic rock. I then took that metamorphic rock, that's right here, and I put it on the tinfoil in a pan, which started the melting process, and then through the melting process, you started with the metamorphic rock. It heats up and it starts to melt, and then it turns into lava. And this on the left picture is what the lava looks like, and it actually kind of does look like lava, even though it's starburst. So the last step, once the metamorphic melts into lava, once you get the lava, you let it cool. And once it cools, it actually turns back into igneous rock. And right here we have the igneous rock, and it's all crumbly, and then the process starts all over again. You put it into pieces, and then you have sediments, and then you squish it all together, and you create the sedimentary rock and then you go to the metamorphic rock, and then you can create it back to lava, and then you just keep going, and it keeps going. So in conclusion, after doing the whole experiment, I was satisfied with the results, and I think it was a really good way for a beginner like me or a new learner of geology to understand how the rock cycle works instead of just looking at a picture or watching video and actually getting hands-on and showing it a very simple way of how it works. And for a lot of people, that's a good way, is actually seeing it with their own eyes and actually doing it is a good way of them understanding of how it works. And I also think Starburst was a good choice as the rock since it's very pliable. It's not as hard to change the rock into the other forms. The experiment would have been a lot harder to do. If, for example, you did the crayon one, it would have been a lot harder to get the crayons all clumped together and stuff. And I think the Starburst made the whole experiment a lot easier for the user. Again, thanks for watching.